guys, it's Kristen Laura Luna, and today I wanted to talk about how I write books. Now, everybody writes books differently, and what works for me may not work for you. But first off, I start with a concept. And I'm using the example Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, even though I don't support J.K. Rowling because of statement she has made about the transgender community. Everybody knows the Harry Potter series, so it's easy for me to talk about that and give examples through that so that people know what I'm talking about, because my process is my process and this is how my brain works. So first off, I start with a concept, and for this example the concept would be, oh, I want to do a fantasy story about a boy who is about a boy who goes into a fantasy world, and it has magic, and I want him to be normal, and then he goes to this fantasy world. So I start with that, and then it's like some conflicts. I want him to be the one. I want to do a dark, like the enemy, like he beats and defeats the enemy. And yeah, some of the conflict would be, he's entering this wizarding world and he doesn't fit in maybe, and yeah, so I think this is what the concept is, and I think I'm gonna call it Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, because the Philosopher's Stone has relevance as far as like alchemy and science and magic. I think I'm going to keep that. So I'm gonna that's my concept. So once I come up with the concept, then I go to the brainstorming phase. And the brainstorming phase is me simply opening up a Google Docs or Microsoft Word if you prefer that, and typing out basically an entire story about the key points of the story. You might call this the synopsis, if you will, but it's a little bit more detailed, and it usually ends up being about a page long when I first start out. So I start with, Harry Potter, and he lives with a family, but I don't want him to be his parents, because I want the parents to die off screen because they are part of the wizarding world. So I start with that, and then I go to, okay, so the Dursleys, I'll call them the Dursleys, they are going to be abusive to him, like treat him as an outcast. So immediately the reader has sympathy for this character. And I want him to reach a certain age, and then the Wizarding World has to start contacting him. So I don't know how to go about that. Maybe letters will come to him, and, the Dursleys try to stop that. So I start writing that, and then I'm like, okay, somehow he gets to the school. He needs to make a couple friends. I call them friend A and friend B. He gets to the school. He has an enemy, because I need a bully. So I don't know what I'll call that bully, but I think he's going to be like one of the rich kids, And he gets there, and one of the teachers is like awful to him, and he's like all in black and just like, yeah, like a very mean-spirited teacher. So he doesn't have it easy. And brainstorm. Somehow he gets the Philosopher's Stone and he defeats the villain. And I want him to defeat the evil teacher that was mean to him, dressed all in black. I'll call him Snape, okay? So Snape is the villain, and he's mean to him throughout the entire book, and at the end he defeats Snape with the Philosopher's Stone. So there, now you have the brainstorming concept, some of the key points in it, and then I take that brainstorming session and I basically divide them up into chapters, and I'll name the chapter Chapter 1, Harry Potter Underneath the Cupboard, or something like that. And basically I just kind of like take that little bit of what the brainstorming session was, and that's one chapter. So one chapter you're going to see Harry Potter being abused, kind of like discarded, under the cupboard. And then I keep going and breaking up each of the brainstorming into chapters. That would be awesome. And of course, that would be, I don't know, that would help make the flow of the story, basically, start to finish, key points, conflicts, all of that. That goes into the chapter breakdowns. Now, when you start writing, this is why I consider myself in between a plotter and a pantser, because I do plot that. I plot the brainstorming, I plot the outline, how I want the flow of this book to go, but everything doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes I make changes within the story. So, I might have had Snape at the beginning being the villain, but it's like when I start writing, I change my mind. It's like, I don't want him to be the villain. I want him to be the red herring. Like, I want people to think that he's the villain, but I need somebody else. So I'll do another teacher, Quirrell. Yeah, I'll call him Professor Quirrell, and he's like the dark arts teacher. And nobody suspects him of anything. Okay, and then I need to add like a guide figure. Professor Dumbledore, like he's the head wizard of this school. And how do I get him to the school? I sent letters, so maybe owls drop letters in, and then the Dursleys try to stop him from that as I'm writing. This is what's, my brain is coming, but I need somebody else to bring him there and kind of guide the reader and us through. Hagrid. I'll call him Hagrid. It's like this giant dude that the Dursleys are scared of, so he's allowed to kind of take Harry to this magical world. Friend A and friend B, I'll call him Ron and Hermione. And Hermione, I want her to be like a really brainy type of student, knows a lot about magic. And Ron, I want him to be like the goofball. Okay, and he meets them, they're friends. And Professor Snape, since he is no longer the villain, I've got this other professor as the villain, so I've got to weave in some like mysteries, I guess, that sends Harry on an adventure, on these side quest adventures, thinking that it's Snape who's evil, but it's not. And then you start writing and building up the characters. You start learning things about the characters, about the story, about the flow of the narrative. And so I need a falling out, like with Hermione and Ron and Harry, because, you know, that's character development. They need to have a falling out. So I do that. Like maybe Ron doesn't know the spell Wingardium Leviosa or something like that. And Hermione corrects him, and then they kind of have a falling out. But how do I get them back together? Troll. It's a troll. A giant troll will come in, and that brings in some action. And, of course, at the end, I want to have some kind of quest-like mission thing where it's kind of dangerous. Maybe Ron helps Harry out. Like, maybe it's a giant chessboard or something like that, like a fire-breathing dragon or something that they have to get through. And Ron helps Harry with that. But in the end, it's going to be Harry and Harry against Professor Quirrell. And Harry saves the day. And of course, I want to weave in his parents. It's like his parents aren't there. Why aren't they there? They were murdered by the Dark Lord. Ooh, I like this. I want a Dark Lord type of character who's in the shadows. Maybe Harry is special because he got to defeat him as a baby. How am I going to make that work? Maybe his mom is involved or something. Okay, I'll figure that out as I get there. But as you can see, this is how my brain is working, and this is how I write a story. And it just starts with that concept. It starts with the brainstorming. Well, it starts with the concept, and then it goes into the brainstorming session. And then the brainstorming session is divided into chapters. The chapters guide me through the flow of the novel, and I can move and piece together and add and delete scenes as they come up and try to figure out how I can make the story work start to finish. So that is basically how I write a novel. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!